Hello, chads. How are y'all doing today? Welcome on in. It's Friday. Happy Friday. How are y'all doing today? Welcome on. And we do have the little one here for the moment. She's coming and saying hello. The baby Alona. What you up to, little one? Are you here on your stream? One of your stream debuts? How's everyone doing today? Here's the lovely baby Alona. The cutest of the patootiest. Look at her. She is going to be snuggling with the one, the only Music Girl tomorrow. Yeah. Are you excited to meet Music Girl? She's very excited. Cliff, how are you doing today? Debs? I know, Debs. Debs, it's not even fair. It's not even fair to have that double. Talk it down, Darren. Darren, how are you doing, Darren? Welcome on in. Bit Gamey. First today was Smikes. Very rapidly sniping is Jimmy B93. Jimmy, thank you for the 18 months. Resub, Jimmy. It doesn't feel it, sir. It does not feel it at all. KJ, hello. How are you doing? Bit Gaming. It's okay to be jealous. Why are you sorry? Chat. You say goodbye to baby Alona? You want to say goodbye to baby Alona? She's going to go have some food now. What do you think? Is it food time? It might be food time. It might be food. Yeah? she's furling her brow. Spectre furling her brow at the panic. Spectre flight. How you doing, Spectre? Oh yes, yes. We're gonna say bye. Bye. Yes. Yo. Okay. Thank you. All right, how's everyone? Keep babe, no Spectre, no. All the sounds scare baby. Sometimes all the sounds scare baby, and I want you all to be able to have fun. By the way, Cliff, hit it. Hello, Cliff Hoster McLean. Jay for short. You have a little baby too. How old is your little one? She just turned 2 months last weekend. I'm still like in the in-between stage of counting weeks and counting months, and like Lita's counting the weeks, I'm counting the months, and we're kind of doing a little bit of everything. 3 months? Oh, Jay, congratulations, Jay. What is it? At 3 months, are they starting to sleep through the night yet? Because she's not yet doing the thing. She's not yet doing the thing. Spectre, how you doing? Twitch guy 2!
Hello there.
Twitch guy 2! How you doing, Twitch guy 2? Nelf, hello. I saw our friend Skip in the house, too. Guys, Skip is having his subathon 200 follower celebration tomorrow. 12-hour stream. Make sure to go check out the lovely Skip and support him tomorrow. He's a core community member. Legendary trivia wizard. He won trivia again this past month. Skip, if you're out there. Love your face, Skip. Debs, how are you doing today? Just started sleeping through the night. Okay. So, Jay, what we're doing is Lita's up a fair bit of the night, and then I'm up around 6 or 6:30 in the morning, and that's when I take her. And then Lita can sleep, because it's still like it's this on and off kind of cycle, and it's not yet quiet there. It's not yet. But we're slowly making on there. Guys, Debs got to see little one twice today, so if anyone's jelly, it should be at Debs. Can't wait till I start sleeping through the night. Darren, do you have a little one as well? Or just in general? Smikes, y'all. Smikes made a new command we're testing out today. It's not yet ready to go. Oh, in general. Got you, Darren. That's what I thought, that you didn't have the little one, but that's what I was double checking. Spectre, thank you for the biddy, Spectre. But yeah, we're testing out this new command for this complimenting, and Smikes has built this whole network for us to be able to do like these randomized lovely compliments. Hello, Epoch! How you doing, Epoch? It called Lita sauce and complimented your hair. I think it's sentient. It might actually be. Epoch, how are you doing? McZenith, hello. McZenith, we just hit the little one here. My little one is me. I don't sleep through the night. Not yet, Twitch Guy 2. Twitch Guy 2, how is everything going? Guys, speaking of lovely and amazing artists, go follow Epoch. Go follow lovely and amazing Epoch.
Gucci.
That was Yogurt Garrow. Epoch! Spectre, thank you for all the biddies, Spectre. And Epoch, thank you for the biddies as well. Mon, how you doing, Mon?
Gucci.
Mon, you just missed the little one. You just missed her. Lita was getting a bottle ready, so we were looking at, she was just hanging out. Thank you, Spectre, for the Sonic Redeem, Spectre Flight. Mon, how are you doing today? Mon, we'll get you your fans. But shout out in just a moment, Mon. Mon, actually, our friend Music Girl, who's in the chat, gets to see... Mon, Music Girl gets to see the little one tomorrow. That one right there, that lovely lady in the green lettering with that first badge, that lovely founder's badge. Yeah, she gets to see the little one tomorrow. And, yeah, I think she's the first in the Twitchosphere to get to meet the little one. You got a letter today, Mon. Mon, I hope it was okay. I hope it was okay, Mon. And I'm glad that the post office was able to have it be legible. All right, Mr. B, how was the performance? I saw the pictures you put up. The kiddos seemed like they did a very nice job, which I'm glad to hear. Chat! Put the sticker on your koozie. Spectre, how did it turn out? Was it okay sticker? Yo, we did our prediction to start the stream. Did Blink get haircutted today? This was initiated by Andrew CZ. The correct answer is, with 3,417 channel points on the line. No. Hi, Kai! Hi, Kai. You got your stickers too? Tolkien Tao, I'm so glad. Actually, Tolkien Tao, you had more stickers go out today. Tolkien Tao. So, Tolkien Tao, sometime next week, you're getting more stuff. So, there's going to be that. Oh, Mom, that's awesome. Yeah, no one gets haircuts on a Friday. Nobody gets haircuts on a Friday. Like, if you do see someone get a haircut on Friday, something bad just happened. And proof the gold stickers. Yeah, absolutely, Spectre. Spectre, absolutely. You look the most Gucci. Andrew CZ, just most of you, absolutely. Ryan pick a stick. Yes, Music Girl. That's a good idea because I have on my little notebook. See, this was like the last week's people that I had to ship out. You're the only one with not a check mark next to their name. So we need to make sure that you pick out your sneaker. Chicken butt, Spectre. Chicken butt, SciAnts News. Chicken butt, Spectre, tell me the things. Guys. While Spectre is about to tell me something crazy, we have a prediction to do of how many science topics will we finish tonight. Chat, get those channel point predictions in. You have 15 minutes. I've got a lot of cool science to get through. We'll see how far we will get to. Hello, Theo! Theo!
Ah, you are wholesome as Ferret. Yay!
When you move a house's proximity to post office, a big consideration. Maybe a bit gaming, because you also are getting stuff in the mail. Theo, how you doing, Theo? Music Girl. This sits on my desk. Jimmy, you sit in my heart right here in front of me, Jimmy. Your pin is right next to the mic equipment. And he just looks at me. He just looks at me, Jimmy! He looks at me, and it makes me so happy. D&D uses a catch. I just got back. Oh, nice. How was it? How was it, Theo? Hello, Supernatural Writer. Guys, go check the lovely and amazing workout streamer, writer streamer, cooking streamer, beauty streamer, Christmas tree putter-upper streamer, all the things. Go check out Supernatural Writer. We're doing a pirate campaign. I'm excited. Nice, Theo. I love the pirate tree. I'm very much lover of the pirate tree, Theo. That's awesome. And Buttspot is a little slow on that front. Theo, my day was pretty alright. I was supposed to take all the day off, and I didn't. I worked until like 10:30, and then I was chatting with the lovely Andrew and Debs, and then I chatted with the lovely Smikes, and then I went to the post office to mail a bunch of stuff off, and then I picked up a fair bit of things, chat. I picked up a bunch of stuff from the post office, too. Let me show y'all some of it. Some beautiful items that I picked up from the post office. They need to be hung on the walls. This one is the first one. Gwen, how are Gwen? Gwen, they're doing all right. Gwen, I need to get them some more leaves, I think. That was Cliff House from McLean. I think they're being a little bit naughty on the fungal growth. They're cutting some of the leaves, but they're not cutting enough of the leaves. So I think we need to like switch out some of their flavors. Guys, I picked up a couple of things. There is not a hole in this. There's not a hole in this. This is the piece, the art piece from the lovely Becca. There you go. Now you can see there's not a hole in it. We're going to have to figure out where to hang it. But this will be one piece. Lita and I are thinking we're going to rearrange some of the office. So we have some shelving. NMD!
NMD is how you say here.
Hello, NMD. We're going to rearrange part of the office so there's room.
Gucci.
So there's room in the office for like some of these amazing commands. Look at that. Becca, absolutely beautiful work. Guys, also go check out the lovely and amazing NMD96, who's on her partner Poosh. On her partner Poosh. Go check out NMD96. We had this one from Archeros. Becca, we love it. Becca, we have to frame it, is the thing. It's far too cute to not. This one is hand-carved wood, so it was a solid piece of wood and Archeros carved it. You are not a menace, Theo, don't you dare. Theo, don't you dare. Painted, wood burnt, and carved by Archeros. We got this one in the mail today. We got some amazing work from Gwen. Gwen, I am terrified to open these. I need to get, like... Lita and I are like, we need frames right away. Because it's like, these are just so stunning. These are all sketches from Gwen. These are getting framed, y'all. These are getting framed. Lita and I have already picked, like, are looking at frames online to check these out. These are so good. They need to be put somewhere, like, very fancy. Oh, Theo, all the art for the gala was amazing. This one, Gwen. This one we're getting framed and putting in the little one's room. So we're gonna have to hang it. But one thing is, Gwen, we want to have like the right kind of preservation for it, so that like the sun doesn't bleach it or anything. But these are like that's why I left them in the cardboard, because like I need something fancy to store these in. Like, Gwen, I'm terrified to look at them. I'm terrified. Yeah, there's a spray devs, but there's also like this certain kind of frame that's supposedly the ideal one to have. Nope, don't you dare, Gwen. Gwen, don't you dare just suggest these are just but nothing. No. Thank you, Grimly. Thank you, Grimly, for that. Those are not just but nothing. No, Gwen, those are beautiful. I will not accept anything else. And then we got one more. This was from Boyd's. Our friend Boyd Custom Fab. Hi, Lady Larcroft! Look at how shiny you are. It is in fact real. The picture that we saw on the gala also made it look like it didn't look real. But it is in fact a solid piece. It's I think it's cherry wood and acrylic, and it's painted. Illyuthio! Hi, Arjun Live. Welcome in. This still gets me. It does not look real. But look at that. And again, we need to figure out where to put it. All of these, so they don't... Right now, they're not, like, there's not really hooks on them. I want to make sure there's the appropriate hooks, and, like, they're at a safe enough place where, you know, they won't fall and nothing bad. So they're just right now sitting on the shelf in the office. Only Noodle comes in here, and she doesn't get up on the shelves. Although, she was being extremely naughty today, chat, Noodle. Yesterday, I didn't tell you that the plumbers came, and they sliced holes in the wall to, like, remove this pump from the toilet, because the downstairs pump broke and needs to be replaced. That was a whole thing, and then they had to cut into the drywall, and Noodle figured out that if she squeezes at the right angle, she can get through the drywall into the space between the unfinished basement and the finished basement, and she could sneak around back there, and I'm like, Noodle, that's not safe, so I was trying to block it up today, before stream with cardboard to prevent her from getting in. It was a whole to-do, y'all. It was a whole to-do. I don't know if it's gonna work. We will see. We will see. Because I heard her screaming today, and I'm like, what is she doing? And then I went downstairs, and she wasn't in her area. And I'm like, Noodle? And then I opened up, like, the unfinished part of the basement, and then she ran out. I'm like, Noodle, what were you doing, you naughty lady? But she's fine. She was just being naughty. Guys, speaking of naughty, if you don't follow our friend Everyday Gamer M, a.k.a. Mon, a.k.a. Monique, you will be very sad, and you will be on Santa's naughty list. You do not want to be on Santa's naughty list, unlike Spectre Flight, who lives on being Santa's naughty list. Chat, please go check out Mon. Please go check out Mon, because if you do not check out Mon, you will be extremely sad. You will be sad, and you will not enjoy the loving of the life. Chat! Please check out Everyday Gamer M.A.K. Mon, who's an amazing artist, game developer, and gamer extraordinaire. Mon, we love you very much. This is true. It's fact. We have Spectre Flight. Spectre Flight is Hyosai. Lover of Chaos is Hero. And it's also the Hyosai. Silly Willy Lemon Squeezy. We love you, Spectre Flight. You silly goose. You silly goose. How you doing, silly goose? Spectre, thank you for that redeem. Thank you for that redeem. First time chatter. Chuck in a game. Chuck in a game. I've actually not had any beverage items tonight. Beyond some water. How you doing, Chuck in a game? First time chatter! Welcome on in. And hello, Soup. How you doing, Soup? How you doing? How you doing, Official Soup? The unofficial Soup. Else in the head's house. Soup does the Hyosai streaming of the cutting into the Hyosai wood. And the cutting into bone, and he also does the games, and he's also a chef, and he's also the whole thing.
96 AMD is how you say hero.
It's how you say a hero. In fact, NMD.
The breathtaking, the beautiful AMD 96. Who is hero? She is how you say the only partner push. So please go check out NMD, who is on her partner push. A breathtaking, beautiful soul is the NMD 96. Very, very much. We love the NMD. Yes, NMD. I might have hit a button. NMD. I hit the button. I NMD 96. We have the Hyosai Lady Lara Croft, who is Tomb Raider, who is protector of the artifacts in the world, and very big supporter of the science, and latest shiny. Get it! We very much love and appreciate you, Lady Lara Croft. This is true. This is fact. Chat, we have the Hyosai, the breathtaking Bitgaiming. Bitgaiming is the Hyosai most powerful papa in the entire world. Without Bitgaiming, there would be no such thing as a father. He has defined what fathers are, and he does the whole thing in the world. This is very true. This is very fact. Bitgaiming, you're also game developer extraordinaire and extremely handsome, even though sometimes you talk like a baby. You talk like a baby, Bitgaiming. Sometimes. Next up, chat. Next up, chat. We have the Detector. Detector is also science steamer and gamer extraordinaire. We very much love you, Detector, you powerful soul. This is very true and very fact. That's how I do this, is to tell you, because of love, this is very true, because of the loved items. We have XX Baka 95, who chat, did you know? He's a beautiful, powerful artist extraordinary. We now have piece of art from Baika that will be on the wall soon. It has to be mounted into the frame and the hook, and then it will be put on wall, and we will say how beautiful we have of having the Baika art in the world. This is true. This is fact. We have Debs. Debs, did you know? Debs is a very, very powerful soul. One time, Debs jumped from the planet that is called Earth and jumped onto a planet called Mars, and a big jump because she's so powerful, because she never skips leg day with Andrew Sleazy. And then Debs was like, I will write about this and publish multi-million-dollar book. And then Debs was like, I am legend. This is all true and all fact. We have Andrew Caesar, and he's speaking of Greco-Roman gods. We have Andrew Caesar, who is all powerful, all kind, all knowledgeable. He is, how you say, like the Da Vinci's, the crafting of the marble. The very if you ever looked at perfection incarnate of the gentleman, you would got Andrew Caesar in the Wikipedia page. Andrew, we love you very much. Thank you for being you, Andrew Caesar. Very, very extreme, Andrew Caesar. We have the Hyosite. Smikes! 24 cat! Smikes is Hyosite. Handsome as Ferret. His words will be best friends. He will soon be neighbor, and we will do the Hyosite. Watching scary movies. Watching romantic comedies. And the Hyosite having beverage items while making the barbecue. It will be so much fun. It will be so much fun. Smikes, you are very wise, and thank you so much for everything you do with them. All the things you've been doing, like you are kind of loving it. Just go, ah! We have Samurai Vic. Samurai Vic, you are very handsome and kind and loving. Samurai Vic, you bring us a great deal of joy, and we thank you for being such a joyous and beautiful person, Samurai Vic. This is all true, and this is all very fact. We have the Hyosite chat. The lovely Crystal Ballerina. Crystal is also amazing with peoples. Lover of the sciences and also likes to nerf people. But it's very good to sometimes nerf the peoples, because the nerfing of the peoples of who are being very naughty is important to do the nerfing. This is very true and very fact. Thank you for doing the nerfing, Crystal Ballerina. Yes! And finally, we have Gwendolyn P. Chat. Gwendolyn P is Hyosite. Very naughty, because Gwendolyn P suggests that she is not the most wonderful artist ever, and her sketches are just Hyosite sketches and not art. It is very naughty of Gwendolyn P to say such things, because it makes Ferret cry. Gwendolyn P has made Ferret cry, and I go, ah! Gwendolyn P, why you make the Ferret cry by telling the people the lies about the artwork that you do? Gwendolyn, please accept the love of the Ferret and the power of the art that you do. Oh!
Hello there.
Oh! Please, Gwendolyn, please. Please don't break my heart! On the throat! No!
Easy, Stu.
Thank you, Gwendolyn Pay. I hope that you will now treat yourself with more respect and love. I hope so, Gwendolyn Pay, that you will treat yourself with more respect and love. Next up, RPG channel. Our friend RPG Final just got home from a very scary time in their life, and we like to support RPG Final, amazing artist and friend of the community. RPG Fan, I hope you are feeling okay. I'm glad to see you here today. We love you very much. Travel the world. Hello, Travel the World. How are you doing today? It's great to see you. Did you know, Travel the World, that you are getting stickers? Just went out today. The sticker for Travel the World is very true. Is very fact. Yay! Chat! Finally, we finish with Grimly tonight. Grimly is kind. Grimly is loving. Grimly is the most handsome man in the state of New Jersey. He gave up the title intentionally so that he can give it to Carlo. Grimly is built of love and wholesomeness and beautiful vibes. Grimly, we thank you for everything you do and teaching us the power of friendship and the power of love. Chat! If I have missed anyone, you tell me, and I will return and will correct this. Until then, have a great stream. Yay!
Spectreflight. Spectreflight, I hope that's what you wanted and so much more. Spectreflight. I hope that is what you wanted, my friend. I hope that it lived up to your expectations, and I hope it didn't ruin the magic. I'm sorry about the tears, Spectre. Spectre, that was just...
there was some naughtiness that happened, Spectre. Gwen was being self-loathing and not, appropriate to herself, and the ferret took it personally. It was a whole thing. I've never seen the ferret cry like that, Spectre. I've never seen the ferret cry like that. And luckily, Gwen has recognized that. I know I have not either, RPG. Supernatural writer. Supernatural writer in the his house with the VIP from the year redemption. Supernatural writer, give me one moment and we will update that list. Supernatural writer, we will update the list. Give me one moment. Let me find the correct tab out of the thousands of tabs that I have, because Smikes knows the madness that I do. Supernatural writer, madame, you can now, if you say something, Supernatural writer, there should be, Supernatural writer, a diamond by your name. There should be a diamond by your name, Supernatural writer. Thank you for saving up all those channel points. There we go. Look at that VIP. Supernatural writer. If you would like a sound alert that could be triggered by you, please let us know what you would like as your sound alert. If you would like your very own custom one, you can pick whatever you'd like, 10 seconds or less. I am also told that Smikes has a whole bevy of random Bulent sounds if you want to make it really awkward with goofy sounds from Bulent. But congratulations, Supernatural writer. Congratulations. It is, because yesterday, Big Gamey, we had one, and we had one today. And so I didn't push up by 10, I only pushed up by 8. I only pushed it up by 4. 4 for each of them. Only did for 4 for each of them. But yes, I know these are economical times, Gwen. Gwen, actually, the reason it goes up is because there's a finite number. It does run out eventually, Gwen. So there's only a certain number that you're able to have total. And so that's how I account for it, by just increasing the price of it. But eventually we'll take care of it. And Smikes always has great ideas about how we can fix some of these things and like whatnot. So Gwen, total that we have available to us, we have a total of 60. We have a total of 60, Gwen. You can get more. You can get more, Gwen, by having a certain number of folks chat in your stream at once. So if we wanted more, for example, Gwen, I think, let me tell you the exact thing that we need. It's it's a weird achievement, it's called. Let me see.
Echo, 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 echo location.
Thank you, Andrew.
I find my prey, I find my way.
Rista,
You
are wholesome as Ferret. Yay!
The sound wave blast, I release to find food fast. Bionic ears, ultrasonic frequencies I can hear. I sleep all day, upside down in my cave. I fly by night, don't need light, emails in flight. Echo, 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 echo location. I find my prey, I find my way. Echo location. I squeal like that, hits an insect, bounces back.
Hi, Zedman.
Actions will determine my direction. Echo, 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 echo location. I find my prey, I find my way. Echo location. Echo, 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 echo location. I find my prey, I find my way. Echo location.
Hello, looking cool, Zedman, and hello, Raystarok. How are y'all doing today? It's great to see you too. We just gave a shout out, Fancy Man, shout out to Risto, guys. As always, make sure to check out Raystarok. All things mental healthness and games, and he is now free. He has a start. When do you start the new position, Risto? I think, is it Monday, or do you get a little break? But Risto finally has got a new job where they don't still pay him enough as what I think, but they're getting a little bit better, and they're going to treat him with so much more respect. Risto, I'm so excited for you, and really proud, and just I know it's going to be great, Risto. Risto, that's awesome. Next up, you're going to take over the whole dang company. I'm telling you that right now, Risto. They're going to give you the company. They're going to be like, this man knows all about this. We're going to train him up on all the stuff, and he's just going to take care of it. That's what's going to happen, Risto. That's what's 100% going to happen, sir. Big congratulations again. And also, congratulations to our friend Looking Cool, Zedman! Zedman had a bunch of very nice Pokemon card pulls last night. Very, very beautiful Pokemon card pulls. Zeddy, also, folks, full-time variety streamer, content creator extraordinaire. Please go check out Looking Cool Zedman. Remember, he and I were each other's 69th followers, so we are both live in the world of nice with each other. Zeddy, how are you doing today? We had tornadoes tonight, but chilled in the basement for a while, but we're safe now. Good. Stay safe. Stay safe. Hello, Towards Night. Professor Knight. Hi, Mom Boss Lady. Also, you haven't updated us. That's right. Rista has not updated us on the
It's all Gucci.
on the calendar. That's not at all Gucci, in fact, and not learn about how the calendar is going. Towards Night, how are you doing today? Risto
Gucci
said he called me Monday. I was like, you start Monday. He was so excited to hire me. Risto, that's awesome. It's a good sign. It means you found a group that are going to respect you for what you do and value you as a person, which I don't think is something that you should be having to actively worry about in finding a job, but
It's alive! I've always wanted to say that.
But I'm glad that you're finding a place like that, Risto. I love your face, good sir. Big congratulations. As always, Risto Raka. Risto. Indeed, NMD. I don't think I made it through it either, NMD96. It's fine, that's fine. Everything's fine. Everything's fine, NMD96. Alright, chat. Ice cream maker in the house. My god, I love that, Gwen. Try ChatGPT for the first time and I'm nervous. Why are you nervous, Towards Night? Because it's going to hack your computer? Because it's really a government program to get into all your personal data and so that they can hijack. It's a foreign government program to hijack your credit card systems. It's very important, Towards Night. Be nervous. Be nervous. It's the beginning of Skynet. Guys, if you like Skynet and if you like ice cream and if you like freestyle raps, if you like guitar playing and piano, please go check out the lovely and amazing Towards Night, single most handsome man in the United States. He won about it. He won New Jersey, and then he won the national circuit in the beginning of March. He is going international in the late June to defend the United States of America. He will be going to Scotland to defend the title of most handsome man in the world. We love your face to the extreme, Towards Night. Love your face. Great stream today, as always, Towards Night. Absolutely crushing, my friend. Guys, are you ready for some science? Are you ready for some science, chat? Are y'all ready for some cool science tonight? I've got so many science news stories. We have an update on the black-footed ferret clone, which I will do a recap on what exactly this clone is about and why we care about the black-footed ferret clone called Elizabeth Ann. If y'all have been following the story with us with this, it's been really, really exciting to follow. There's been we'll reset and we'll go a little bit of a background, but essentially there was a species of black-footed ferret that nearly went extinct, and they went into the wild and collected the remaining 30 that were in the wild and created a breeding program. The problem was, if you breed them up, even though you're mixing and matching as best as you can, you're getting very, very inbred, and the genetics are going to fall apart. But what they did was they cloned a black-footed ferret from a sample from 1970-something, I believe. Well, the video will go into what exactly that is. And they cloned her by putting her into a surrogate mother. And so she is still genetically a black-footed ferret. She is just from the 70s. And so introducing her into a breeding population will introduce genetic diversity. And that's what they did. Yes, she did in fact breed, and there are now baby black-footed ferret clone running around. We'll go into that. We also have on the SciAnts News docket for tonight, we have an interesting story about lifespan and the effects of sociality on lifespan. We have a new news story on honeybees and their learning. We have another news story on electromagnetic fields created by nematodes to attack fruit flies. We have another news story on screaming plants. And so much more. So chat, let us begin. Where are y'all like? I don't know. I'm kind of feeling on beginning on the ferret. What are y'all thinking? Is the ferret
selected for cloning
an okay place to begin? What are y'all thinking? Is the ferret a good place? Commercial free, always commercial free on the pool stories. There's no pool stories. Does being a clone from the 70s make it a fan of ABBA? Listen, talk to town. Everyone's a fan of ABBA. Everyone's a fan inherently of one generation you come from. You tell me one person where Dancing Queen comes on and you don't just run down the runway. Okay? You tell me what is the one person that does that? Everyone loves ABBA. I know you're not a Dancing Queen per se, Smikes, but don't tell me that you don't enjoy occasionally the music of the ABBA. Hello, my caller Hassler. The whole rage when they came back. I know, right, Grimly? And Grimly, my mom, she grew up listening to ABBA, and she got to go to one concert in Europe. She grew up in Hungary. And she didn't speak a lick of English. And she went to Hungary, or somewhere in Europe, to watch ABBA. And she was like, I was screaming along the lyrics. And she's like, I had no idea what I was saying, but it didn't matter because it was the absolute best. And so she got to see him once back in the heyday on tour. ABBA is, towards night, every time that you do the freestyle raps, or even Thuggy does like the combinations, I'm always like, oh, like the band. And then it's like not at all the band, it's like rhyming scheme. But towards night, I always think of it. Chat! We're going to reset, folks. We're going to reset. We have some new members of the colony that maybe don't remember the beginnings of this SciAnts News story. So we're going to pull it back and talk about the biology behind that, of why this happened, what was the technology behind it, and then we'll pull you up to the modern day story of why exactly this is important. And it's a lot of components here. It's bringing back an extinct species is one component of it. It is maintenance of species. It's cloning. It's genetic diversity. There's a fair bit going on in this SciAnts News story. Try to use ABBA's music. No. I mean, look, towards night. There is one. So towards night, there is a movie called Mamma Mia, and it has a really good list of actors and actresses in there. It's led by, I'm forgetting everyone's name who's led. Amanda Seyfried is the young woman who leads Sophie's character. Who is the really famous actress who's the lead, the mom in that movie? I'm totally blanking on her name right now, but she is Meryl Streep. Yes, thank you guys. Meryl Streep. Talking about tonight, we have kicked off our first SciAnts News story about cloned black-footed ferrets. We're just about to get into the crux of it, the background information on why this is really cool. And then we'll be getting into the new update for it. Might want you to leave something on her doorstep. Maybe, Smikes. Possibly.
2020, the world's first cloned endangered species native to North America was born. Elizabeth Ann, now an adorable black-footed ferret, was cloned using cell lines that have been cryopreserved for over 3 decades. This birth is a milestone for conservation, bringing in unique genetic variation into an endangered species population. It's also the culmination of 7.5 years of work, a collaboration with U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, Viagen, the cloning and advanced reproductive technology part.
Viagen is actually a company that you can place an order with if you want one of your pets cloned. So your pets, they do horse, cat, and dog cloning, which is kind of interesting. Yes, Gwen, so these were native to where they actually ended up finding this particular set was more in the southwest region, but they went from the southwest all the way up north to the edge of Canada along that area. Endemic means so native to to North America. So like the black-footed ferret is endemic to North America, but would be invasive to South America. So those would be the two different, what like what it means in the antonym of it. Alexandria Artifacts, love the name. Welcome on into the colony. I do enjoy our new animation, folks. I do. I know it's silly, but I do enjoy it.
Partner.
Oh, and to clone your pet, I don't remember. I think a cat is $18,000, a dog is $24,000, and a horse, when we last checked, was like $44,000. I think it might be weird if I clone my pet. So, Lady Lara Croft, here's the catch. Like, our cat Noodle. Let me see if I have a picture of Noodle. Okay, we have a picture of Noodle here. She's with baby Alona. Don't worry about it. Noodle right here. On her face. There, she's right down there, too. There is the imposter Noodle. That's very true, Smikes. I could grab imposter Noodle. Noodle has a very unique range of patterning, Lady Lara Croft. So it almost looks like she has a tier of white coming down. And then she's got these interesting striping patterns, and then variances in like the black, and then she's got splotches of white on her body and different stripes as well. So interestingly enough, Lady Lara Croft, if I cloned her, if I used her DNA to make a clone, she would not look the same. The reason you see this coat patterning is because of epigenetics, meaning that during development, in certain cells, some color genes are turned off and some color genes are turned on. And that is not built into the genetic code. That is regulation by epigenetics, meaning like in utero signaling, as well as just signaling between the cells that are random chance. So, if I clone Noodle, she would not look the same. She might look similar, but all her unique patterns wouldn't be there. Those are, again, not genetically encoded. And then her behavior may or may not be different. It depends on how much of her current behavior and your pet's current behavior is due to environment of when you raise them, or like how much was just in when they are born. Usually it's a combination, right? So when you get this new clone cat, she will not at all be the same, even though genetically she's the same. Personality-wise, coloring, she's going to be a totally different animal. Hello, Queenie! How you doing, Queenie? Welcome on in, Queenie. How you doing, Queenie? And NMD, she is very good with baby Alona. She doesn't bother her. I never feel nervous around her. So like Barley, I worry that Barley would jump on baby Alona and like snuggle her too much, because he doesn't know when to stop. Noodle stays near, so you can see that like here's baby Alona, and then Noodle's just sitting laying on baby Alona's pillow. And Noodle will sniff her diaper and then hiss if there's poop in there. Otherwise, everything's fine. Hi, Optic Nerve. Welcome on in, Optic Nerve. How you doing, Optic Nerve? Cloning horses. Something tells me fancy pants horse breeders. So actually, I am surprised, Tolkien Town, that the horse cloning hasn't taken off. The reason being is that to get the sperm of a horse, like a racetrack winning horse, like to get the stud is, depending on which one, is between 50K and 100K just for the sperm of the animal. And then to breed that with another selected horse, you're talking at least $200,000, right? So imagine if you could just get a blood sample of a high-end horse and clone them. I mean, that's what you're kind of doing with the breeding, right? But I'm surprised. My thing is, talking to, I'm surprised it hasn't taken off. I don't know if there's active laws in the horse racing circuit around that. But it's just there probably is, but I don't know. I haven't looked into it. Lita and I have always been fascinated by that topic. And speaking of fascination, folks, one of our besties in the house, Mr. Creaky, Mr. Creaky. How the heck are you doing? I hope you're doing well. Mr. Freaky Creaky, folks, just had a beautiful baby boy. He is a new papa. How's the little one doing? How's Mrs. Creaky doing? Please go follow Mr. Freaky Creaky, a legendary streamer extraordinaire. He is very, very welcoming new and artist. So if you like chill art vibes or chill game streams, he was playing Harry Potter, the new Harry Potter game. While he was playing it, he was also taking donations to the Trevor Project. So again, I think that's probably the best way to play that game on any platform. Mr. Creaky did it because he's kind and loving and a beautiful gentleman. And Mr. Creaky, look out in your mailbox. That's all I'm going to tell you. Keep your eyes on your mailbox, okay? Thank you. Thank you. They're doing amazing. Mom is doing well. Always tired. You will be even more tired, Mr. Creaky, coming soon. But the baby is good. I'm so glad. Creaky, this is just between us, okay? This is between you and me only, okay? Last night, I came across the little one, little one was upstairs, and I saw Lita, and she was misty, and we're sending you an item, Mr. Creaky, and she was almost crying, right? And I'm like, what's wrong, honey? And she's like, I can't imagine like what they're going through, and if they ever need anything at all, you just tell Mr. Creaky that we're there for him. And so I just wanted to pass that on to you, sir, is that we are just, you're in our thoughts every day. If you ever need anything at all, please let us know. We love you very much. Welcome to Heck. There is a reason I have a picture of my daughter and our cat Noodle here. We're talking about the recent cloning. So about a year ago, a black-footed ferret was successfully cloned. And the whole premise we were waiting for was, can she successfully breed? And the whole idea was to see if you can breed this cloned ferret. It was the genetic information came from the 70s to reintroduce genetic diversity into a very, very small population of extremely endangered animals. Because this whole population was started with about 20 ferrets, because they were near extinct. They were in one colony in the United States. And so they made a breeding program. They made a decision to take them off in the wild, and they're trying to reintroduce genetic diversity through cloning. We focus on our D&D streams on Sunday, but we stream Friday, Sunday, 7 p.m. to 7 to 10 Central Standard Time, and Candace does, I believe we just doxed Nerdy Knots. Crochet stream on Tuesdays when she's not studying for big corporate HR certs. Well, let's give the lovely Nerdy Knots a shout out as well. Guys, go give Nerdy Knots that follow too! Crochet, that makes a sense of the name. Nerdy Knots and crocheting. Look at that. Look at that. Yep. Genetic diversity via cloning. So we're going to recap on the information, like what we know about sequence, like how the sequencing happened, and then we're going to catch up on the new, very cool news. And before y'all came in, what we were talking about was the company that helped with this also clones cats, dogs, and horses. We were also chatting about why not the horses, and Smike's pulled up a quote for us. The multi-billion-dollar market for racehorse breeding is strictly controlled, especially in the U.S., where racing organizations adhere closely to rules. They haven't changed much since Seabiscuit's day. The American Quarter Horse Association, U.S. Trotting Association, Jockey Club are among groups that have banned even artificial insemination in the breeding process. So presumably then they don't like cloning. The reason we even mentioned that, Nerdy Knots, is because with the cloning, imagine if you had the opportunity to clone a racehorse, like that was a winning one. Why wouldn't you take it, right? Because usually you spend $250K for the sperm and for an egg donor and to making a new potentially good horse. But it seems like there are rules against it. Why did I pull up the picture of the little one? Because of Noodle. The company that assisted cloning the black-footed ferret also clones cats and dogs. And the question was, if we clone a cat, will they look the same? Will it even have the same behavior? Notice Noodle's patterning. She's got splotches of white all over her body. She's also got splotches of stripes and dark splotches and browns and blacks. She will not look the same if I clone her. a big component of this is because her genetics don't dictate the coat color. It's via epigenetics. So regulation in utero and external regulation give rise to the color, which I think is really, really cool to see something like this. So even if we clone her, she would not look the same. And nor as Lady Lara Croft was asking, would her behavior be the same? Same issue falls into play. We might not have her behave the same either. Okay, 18 plus, so I'm going to mute it, but we're going to catch the earthquake. So here, DMX.
Of the wisdom, I will. Holy shit!
Oh, oh! There was the earthquake. There was the earthquake. I apologize, DMX. I was I was trying to be cautious on that. Different life experience is the original than when they. Yep. DMX, thank you for sharing that clip. Thank you for sharing that. This is from the DNDs. The DND streams on the weekends. Very nice. Thank you, DMX. You did say poopy. No sorries. I'm nerfing your poopy comment. Boop. The sorry comment is gone. I can't. Yeah, I can also hear the poos a little bit there. No, you're fine, DMX. Born into a different situation, causing different outlook on their perspective. Optic is 100% right. This is like our story on the clone bull, Not a Chance. That clone bull, remember, was very loving and very kind and easily approachable, but all of a sudden, as soon as that bull was cloned, the clone was hyper aggressive and it tore up the owner. So cloning doesn't guarantee anything in terms of behavior or color. All you're getting is the genetic information's the same, which is kind of depressing, right? Again, the reason we brought this up is because the news story, and they mentioned in the video, which I like to rabbit hole, is that this cloning company made this. So, Gwen, I would terse into it. Personality can help. So the personality can develop in any direction. There is genetic predisposition, DMX, towards certain behaviors. That's 100% true, but it's all as much framed by the environment as well. There's in utero evidence to say that it frames personality. So, like, if the maternal line undergoes a lot of stress while you're in utero, when you're born, you might be born into having higher levels of anxiety. That's not even through you having any direct experiences. That's through the mom having in utero stress experiences. Right? So there are genetic predeterminations for it, but there's also these epigenetic predeterminants from in utero to just living, right? And the experiences you have. And that's not just limited to humans. That's even in fruit flies, right? So even fruit flies can undergo effects in utero from the mom, and their offspring have different behavior. This has been shown actually in flies, in nematodes called C. elegans, in mice, and much, much more. So it's quite remarkable that stuff like that happens, right? All right, back to the cloning of the black-footed ferret.
The San Diego Zoo Global that banked and crowd preserved these cell lines for 3 decades. The association.
And I just want to point out, we can talk about it if y'all are interested in, but the San Diego Zoo Wildlife Alliance also has the Frozen Zoo at their site. The Frozen Zoo is a really, really, really cool site. It sounds exactly what it sounds like. They keep genetics information and samples, tissue samples from animals that have already gone extinct and that are preserved. So the idea is, let's say we have a really endangered animal species. We can collect a bunch of samples of tissue from the remaining animals and store them. And then once we're ready to maybe do some cloning and attempt to bring them back, we might be able to do so. Having those genetic samples means that we have the genetic diversity from earlier times. And I think it's really cool. If y'all are interested, actually, we can... Why the heck don't we jump to the Frozen Zoo? Nerdy Knots, thank you for the tier 1 gift sub. to our new friendo, whose name I've already forgotten how to say, because Blint does a bad job. I apologize. I know it was complicated. Shiru? No, I'm already messing up. Seiru! I knew it didn't sound the way it looked. Thank you, Nerdy Knots. Thank you, DMX. How long can that? It can stay frozen thousands of years, if not millions. At the right temperature, DNA and RNA is stable. At negative 80 degrees Celsius is where you want to keep these things. And because they're still degrading at that temperature, it's just such a slow degradation that you're talking that it's you can't really, there's nothing at all that's affecting it, if that makes sense. That's negative 112 degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah, so the DNA in amber is not frozen, so it's the temperature that's keeping it stable. Hello, Quoth the Raven. I shipped something out for you today, Quoth the Raven. I used to go to San Diego Zoo a lot. My aunt lived down there. Now, I would love to go to the San Diego Zoo, Quoth the Raven. I've never been there before. But they have this frozen zoo here. So we're going to quickly talk about what the frozen zoo is and why it's so cool. And then we'll get back to the black-footed ferret, the new data. Road trip? Let's do it, NMD. But yeah, DMX, in amber, it's not at a cold temperature. It's at room temperature. Room temperature, y'all went? In my defense, Andrew, you know, y'all didn't know who I was. I was just some weird fella who, like, really likes thug shells and, like, did science and bugs and, like, you know, it's like weird stuff, right? So you didn't want to necessarily bring a weird fella along. Now we can have fun. Epica Sam, how are you doing, Epica Sam? Really pretty and really nice. I don't talk about other places I went to say. Uh-oh. I got you quiet. It was right after the beach. NMD, listen, I almost cried meeting Thug Shells, okay? Of course I would have been nervous hanging out with Andrew and the whole crew there. I'm like, I don't belong here! I'm not a real mod! I'm a dummy item! Anywho. I'm doing alright, Epica Sam. I'm doing alright. We're talking about the black-footed ferret and its preservation. Raiders! Professor Danny Anduza, Raiders!
Science stream, but we ain't fucking.
Danny!
Believe you be chugging what we got. Now the tribes arrived. I promise that I have prescribed you vibes. The vibes we got are giant. Shout out to the stream for the raid. That's science.
Professor Danny Anduza, Raiders! Welcome on in, Danny. How was your stream, sir? Did we win Who Wants to Be a Dino Millionaire? I would love to know. I'd love to know. Tell me all the things. The Lenina, hello. Svarkin, hello. Welcome on in, everybody. You won? Lenina. I'm very excited to hear that. Oscar Juniors. Hello, Oscar Juniors. It is a pretty dang good raid alert, I must say. Our lovely, I'll shout out the lovely woman who did it in just a few moments. Great stream, indeed. Very good. Great even. Chat did indeed win. Awesome. Who wants to be pick? All right, chat. We are going to get back to the science. We were talking about the black-footed ferret cloning, and we were going into a little bit of a dive about the frozen zoo. Music Girl delivered. No. Talk about the frozen zoo and what exactly it is. It is located at the San Diego Zoo. Let's get into it. Oh, ferret onesie. Y'all start watching the video. I'll put on the ferret onesie.
In this lab, they're taking the use of human technology another step forward. The Audubon Institute in New Orleans leads the field in cryobiology, using super freezing methods to preserve the sperm, embryos, and DNA from rare animals. Pioneering this research is Dr. Betsy Dresser. She's holding a single antelope embryo. The containers all around her could hold the whole of the Serengeti, preserved for hundreds, maybe thousands of years. This is a frozen zoo. If we carry on destroying natural habitats the way we are, pretty soon, for some endangered species, these containers could be the only habitat they have left.
And there now are 2 as these. They're trying to get a third one as well because there needs to be backups for it. Because you can imagine if the San Diego Zoo lost power for 3 weeks, you know, there's backup generators, but otherwise if the samples could go kaput, and then you're just left with losing all that genetic information. So there's a bunch of samples that we need to protect and keep. And Purple Kevin, you got it, Music Girl. You got it.
Creating a frozen zoo is extremely difficult. The embryos have to be made in a test tube, what we call IVF, in vitro fertilization. To do this, you need to collect both sperm and eggs. Today, they're preparing a clouded leopard for surgery. She's had hormone treatment to stimulate egg production, and she's now going to have some of her eggs removed. Dr. Dresser is convinced that this...
He said, I'm too busy winning at Mario Kart. I did not know that I won. Oh, Jimmy, please give him a hug, Music Girl, from me.
...is the only way forward.
This is kind of the emergency room of the wildlife business, you know? It's very high-tech research that we need to do to save these species.
If a woman was going for IVF, is it the same kind of treatment that a woman would have?
Yeah, it's very similar, actually. Collection is done very much like what we're doing.
At the state-of-the-art labs...
Jimmy is 250 miles away. From me, okay, that's all right. That's okay. Music Girl, he can be jelly of us. It's fine.
The team is made up of top veterinary scientists and experts in human IVF treatment.
Yeah, this is a leopard, Gwen. So this one, they're harvesting eggs. So there's some that have, Gwen, they harvest just raw tissue. And then there's others that have, that are also getting sperm and eggs. So you're getting either the genetic information to breed them, or you're getting genetic information that you can utilize for cloning technology.
How long do you think the clouded leopard has if no one does any of this work?
This cat may only have another 5-10 years in the wild if we don't do something about it.
What you're seeing on the screen is the inside of a clouded leopard tummy, and we're on the search for clouded leopard eggs. So what exactly are we seeing there?
Well, you're starting to see some internal organs, the gut.
And what we need is ovaries.
Ovaries, right. We need to find the uterus and the ovaries.
Once they're located, it takes immense skill to remove the microscopic eggs from the leopard's ovaries.
And how many do you think we'll get?
You know, it's really difficult to tell. Maybe 10. Maybe more.
And each of those eggs that we find today could be a potential leopard kitten.
Yeah, the beginning of life.
So here is the start of life, an IVF life, when sperm is put with the egg to create an embryo. The next step in frozen zoo technology is learning how to freeze and successfully thaw the embryos and sperm. Every species is different.
Which seems like it would be something straightforward to do of how you preserve these animals, but even that is difficult. So how you actually freeze them and your storage method, it's animal dependent. And Zin is correct. No animals were harmed in the making of this egg extraction, which is amazing. Also, Zin, how you doing today? Guys, make sure to follow Zin Towels, who once saved the world from an asteroid, just like this song suggests. How you doing, Zin? So there is a so if you flash freeze it, Smikes. So the reason that there's issues when you freeze something with water, like if you put something that's waterlogged in your freezer and then you take it out, depending on how it's frozen, the crystals inside your fruit or whatever you froze could explode. And it's because of how they're frozen down, because of the expansion. But if you flash freeze it, there is no size shift in the molecules. It's just that it's frozen in time, and you're not getting that same amount of change. So then when you thaw it, there is a thawing process for it, but it's much less likely to cause like this cellular explosion issue. So as not to interrupt, in dreams
What does it mean to be tethered by one's earthly limitations? What does that mean? Come. Sleep well, NMD 96! Sleep well, NMD. We'll just give you a freebie, NMD.
In dreams, one is not tethered by earthly limitations.
What does that mean?
Come.
There you go, NMD.
Different, and each stage of the process can take years to perfect. But already they've had success, and I was in for a real treat. Betsy had some new IVF babies to show me.
Oh, look at them.
These are the world's first test tube caracal cats.
Wow.
This is what we're in the business for.
So I think that's a super cute way of finishing it, that you know you have success at the... This isn't the cloning, but it's a similar idea. At least they're doing the implantation of it as well. Yeah, thawing... So you can thaw cells... Cancer cells, Gwen, are really, really well done. Because there's cancer cell lines in labs all over the world. You can order them from a company. You get them, you freeze them, like freeze a batch, and you take an aliquot, a small amount from each one, or each little tube, and then you grow up the cells. And then they're really easy to thaw, refreeze, all that jazz. But some of these, like embryos, are a little bit more complicated, and you have to make sure that you do each flavor correctly. Sleep well, NMD 96. Sleep well, NMD. We appreciate you, NMD. So that is Frozen Zoo technology. This is
when
another...
the last Pa'uli died, that is the Hawaiian.
This is the idea of how we bring back animals to life. We'll jump back to the ferret and we'll do a modern check then. Why don't we freeze them in carbonite? That is a great question, Smikes. So, Smikes, the issue is that it's very difficult to get to the carbonite freezing facility. You have to take the R2 detour off I-95, and the R2 detour is usually very backed up. And you have to meet this guy called Lando. There's a whole thing that goes into it. Thank you, Andrew CZ, for the joke.
In Songbird, the body was sent to our pathology department, and my job was to try to grow cells from the tissues.
Yeah, I know. It'd be a solo undertaking, Big Gammy, which is very difficult. But yeah, so this is the Frozen Zoo in San Diego. And this is a extremely powerful, breathtaking woman in science. She was given a bird tissue and was like, here, this is the last bird that we have. We need you to preserve it. Like on a cellular level. And if she didn't do the cell line, like harvesting correctly, that species is gone from the earth forever.
This was the last bird of its species, and if I failed growing these cells, we lost everything that was living. It was stressful to watch the cells grow so slowly, but eventually they did grow and divide. And of course we don't ever want to lose the last animal, but if we do, at least we can bank some part of it in the Frozen Zoo for the future. My name is Marlis Hauk, and I'm the curator of the Frozen Zoo.
Thank you, Detector. It's on Amazon.
Marlis Hauk and I are the two main contributors to the Frozen Zoo. I think what gets me out of bed every morning.
Getty-O Pops! Getty, thank you for the follow. Welcome to the colony.
Morning and coming in here is the interaction with the animals. My name is Barbara Durant, and I'm Director of Reproductive Sciences at San Diego Zoo Wildlife Alliance.
The Frozen Zoo is the largest, most diverse collection of its kind. And for the cell line collection, we have over 10,000 individuals and nearly 1,200 species and subspecies. And of that vast collection, about 5.4% are threatened, which means they're endangered or critically endangered or extinct in the wild or extinct.
The Frozen Zoo was established in 1975 by Dr. Kurt Benershka, and he had an idea that we needed to save materials from these animals, as unfortunately many of them were becoming endangered.
And he knew that we had the ability to freeze cells on these animals. It was a new technique, but he also had the vision that in the future these cells could be used for something beyond what we were able to do back in the 70s. And
yep, this one was founded in 1975, Glenn.
He envisioned cloning and stem cells and that's what the cells are actually capable of being used for today, among other things.
Well, it's the
really unique thing about the frozen zoo and these cells is that they're alive. They're living cells, but we need to stop them from dividing, almost like a hibernation or a time capsule. So if we can freeze them at this very cold temperature in liquid nitrogen, minus 196 Celsius.
So even colder, actually. So DMX is 196 is even colder. In the lab, we usually keep like RNA and things to be stable at negative 80. Negative 196 is even colder, so it'll be even more stable. So the colder you get it, the less motion will happen with the cells and less likely there's going to be any breakdown of any component of it.
That stops the cells from further dividing, and it just holds them in suspended animation so that they will remain there for decades.
I'd rather freeze billionaires and shoot them in the Oh my goodness gracious. I mean, well, Danny, I don't think we have the luxury right now to turn away billionaires' dollars to have preservation. Because there's just so little funding for it. So if a billionaire gives us coin to save species, we'll put his name on the building. Totally. In my book, we have to do it at this stage. But yeah, that is negative 321 degrees Fahrenheit. Imagine if we had a Helland species DNA like this. How cool would that be?
Decades. Each of those vials has about 1 to 3 million cells in it, living cells. One of the amazing things about this job is when we go back to a vial that's been frozen and you pull it out of the nitrogen and there it is. And I know that these cells, maybe not even in my lifetime, but at some point in time, these cells could contribute to bringing that species back from the brink of extinction.
Yep, Smikes and Danny are totally right. Just because it's not altruistic, yeah, you should 100%. If the real world was one where they actually appreciated and valued animal life, sure, but you know how hard it is to get any kind of funding for preservation. So I love the fact that there is a frozen zoo and there's actually 2 at least in the world, and they're trying to start up a 3rd. So there are backups to these cell lines, which are really important, I think.
Currently, we're in a 6th mass extinction. And what's different about this extinction from the other 5 before this is that it's caused by us, by humans.
The northern white rhino is a wonderful example because the world is watching a species go extinct. And they're watching as one by one that small population is dying of old age, and there's only 2 left. And people are very aware now, and they're starting to understand what extinction means.
When I started here at the Frozen Zoo, there were at least 30 and maybe 60 northern white rhino individuals living, and their numbers started plummeting. And we knew that we needed to bank these cells, and we were able, over the years, to bank the cells of 12 northern white rhinos. And they've already been successful reprogramming some of those cells banked back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s into stem cells that can be used to make sperm and egg and possibly an embryo in the future.
Ultimately, what we intend to do is to produce northern white rhinos in the lab. And then these females here at the Rhino Rescue Center will be surrogates for those embryos.
The Frozen Zoo and what we're doing here in banking these cell lines is a backup plan. It's just a plan B, but we need to protect the environment. We need to have an environment that these animals can return to.
We have to always be careful in our education and our
yeah, so Quoth, it's like IVF, but it's not an egg and a sperm from the donor. Instead, the donor is just a surrogate, so you put in someone else's egg and genetic material into the surrogate. The idea is if the surrogate is close enough in genetic relatedness to be able to carry the embryo to term. So for example, the mammoth cloning that they're trying to do, they're doing that genetically modified elephant and putting it into an Asian elephant's womb to be the one to give birth to it. So it's those similarities that allow you to have those kinds of surrogates. Not just the traditional Chinese medicine token tale. There's all kinds of superstitions about the value of ivory as for medicinal purposes, and none of it's true. It's been disproven vehemently, but sometimes people just don't listen.
Not like a ferret or cat. Exactly. It has to be close enough, Quoth. Even closer in kingdom, like very close in genetic relatedness. 2015, all megafauna are threatened into extinction if we don't prioritize habit for them. Yep. It's sad, Murph, but hopefully we can make a difference. And yes, Mike says for the rhino horns and the elephant tusk, they're being dyed this pink color, which apparently makes them worthless on the market, but doesn't at all harm the actual animal. And they still have a functioning horn. They can still use it for defense, for mating, whatever. It's just no longer valuable to the poachers.
Publicity speaking to the public about this, that we don't give the false impression that science can solve all the problems of conservation. That's not the case. We have to continue always to preserve animals in their native habitat.
In the future, no one will know who we are. No one will remember our names. None of the tissue culturists who froze these cells, none of us who cared for the frozen zoo, but they will know that we froze these cells. And
it's a balancing act. Will creating a frozen zoo make people feel like we've got things under control and therefore less likely to take the appropriate measures in preserving the species? Or is this something we have to do regardless? It's loud. So, 100% right, Danny. Is it... I don't get the feeling that enough people know about this to suggest that, it's going to be a viable replacement for taking care of the environment. And they made a very good point. Like, regardless of what you do, it's not good enough, right? We have to do more and save the environment. I would, even if the environment was doing really well and we didn't have this huge problem, I would say that this is a good thing to do anyway, because you never know when a disease is going to hit a population and just wipe out a ton of individuals. And so I think it's just wise to have backups. There's also an equivalent to a frozen zoo for seeds. As Mike's just pointed out too, like for this, the same thing for the seed bank, right? It's so you don't have to have things necessarily threatened to have this. You just be saving genetic information for long term. I know, Smikes, it's because you're in my brain, sir. I don't know why you're in there. It's terrifying.
And hopefully, if we do our job right, 50 years from now, those cells will still be there.
And the fact that the northern white rhino is really teetering on the brink of extinction, and that I might be able to do something about it, is so inspiring. That future generations are going to see so many advances in science and so many exciting things that we can do for the environment, for natural habitats, for endangered species. It's the most exciting thing on the horizon. Certainly saving the planet is the most important thing that anyone can do with their future.
I think this is such a cool job. Like, you're doing bench science, you're doing molecular genetics. You're working with, like, my favorite, like, I love African animals. As a kid, everything on the African savannah, rhinos, elephants, everything, just my favorites, right? And then you're also doing outreach and talking people about the importance of environmental preservation. I think this lady that we just heard from is an absolute hero for what she does in the lab and her relationship with the public as well, to tell people about the importance of saving the species. Now, speaking of saving species, that brings us back to Elizabeth Ann, the first cloned black-footed ferret. We do have an update on her today, but let's actually reset and learn about why exactly she's special and why she matters to the population. Like how they say might are working on, because it shows that we all know it could not work, but that we're doing it so we can try. Quoth, I think they're very wisely choosing their words, because it's very easy to be like, oh, this is going to work 100%. As soon as you hear that, I think it's easy for people just to stop caring as much. But this is, I think, a good way to temper people's expectations. Don't worry, Zin, don't give stuff away, Zin's house. It's fine.
Of zoos and aquarium that have helped with captive breeding for the population for decades, and of course with Revive and Restore as a project manager and a catalyst for this incredible genetic rescue. There's no one better to give some historical context to the black-footed ferret than Pete Gober from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service Black-footed Ferret Recovery Team, who's dedicated much of his life to preserving and protecting this endangered species.
Grasslands of the American West are one of the most impacted wildlife habitats on the whole continent. if you think about grasslands stretching from...
So, Gwen, this was your question about where these animals were distributed. Love you to face more Zen. Thank you, Spikes, for nerfing Zen and not letting him leave. I know. I'm sorry. Oh, it's been 30 minutes. Thank you, Spikes. U.S. Fish and Wildlife have had their logo on many research posts of mine. Nice, Danny. Hi, Pragmatic Entropy. Welcome in. Speaking of saving species, what percentage of species do you think we should save? Ooh. Oh, Pragmatic. I am not at liberty to suggest a percentage of species that we should save. I think it would be reckless to put a percentage on there. It would also be reckless to deem which species should be saved in terms of importance. I think it's very dangerous to put any number of how much we should save and why on these animals, because then you start nitpicking and trying to knit it into the nitty-gritty of value of a species, and I think it's a very slippery slope. I would just argue we should try to not suck and stop wiping out environments and killing species, just as a blanket statement, because I think there's a lot of potential damage just by even chatting about what to save and how much of it to save. That's Quaff. I know I asked for a lot, but I think, again, like, if you were to tell me, like, okay, you can save 66% of the species, but we're not going to talk about which 66%. Imagine if you are nerfing ones that are very, very important for it. Trick question, considering that we have not defined all species in Infinite Almost April. Thank you, Pragmatic Entropy. Fair enough. Pragmatic, you got me. I was like, wait a minute. That does not sound like a Pragmatic Entropy kind of question. Very good point, though, Pragmatic Entropy. It's very true. We have not identified all the species. But look, we figure out the source of the problem with spikes. It's very difficult. Sometimes they say you can spy one in mirrors, but it's confusing to a lot of people when we say that, so... But that's neither here nor there. Danny, I thought you were just very excited, and I was also shocked. I'm like, Danny's for this? This doesn't sound right at all. Ah.
From Canada to Mexico, and from the Intermountain West back east.
So, Gwen, that dotted red line is where these animals used to live. The red dot is where that final population survived, where they took all the samples and actually brought them in and tried to rescue them. Save 200%. I thought you were excited, Danny. You're very excited. Blasphemy Mirror Show Alternate Universe is not my reflection. Quaff, I don't even know what a reflection is. There's clearly a gentleman in the mirror when I look. Sometimes he says something silly things at me. I'm like, I don't even know who you are. I don't even know who you are.
East up the Missouri River, you had a very, very large area.
And now these are the green dots. They've reintroduced black-footed ferret populations from the breeding program, but the catch is these are all very genetically similar. It's called a genetic bottleneck because you start with a very small number of individuals, and no matter how much you're trying to breed them to increase genetic diversity, if you mix them, you can only mix them so many times, and you're narrowing down the genetic information in the population. This is bad for two reasons. One, if a disease breaks out, it's going to kill all of them because they're very genetically similar. Two, the inbreeding could lead to genetic defects forming and diseases increasing in them, and then you're getting stillbirths and a bunch of issues happening as well. So there's a lot of problems on that front. If we save only 99% of the species, how would we know if the 1% was sent to extinction? Was this a game show question? Really? Yeah. No. So this is to help the population grow and make sure we have both, Quaff. So Quaff, given the original population took this entire span and then there's only one left, it's actually a couple of reasons. One is to keep the species from going extinct. Right, number one. Number two, to refit the ecological niche that we wiped them out from, because they had important they ate snakes and other things that like population control. And then the third thing too is that they'll talk about is can we do this? There's a proof of concept experiment almost. Like, can this methodology work to save a species? One thing, Quaff, that actually Pragmatic Entropy is it's not so much an April Fool's question, but is this species worth saving? Is it worth money to save this animal? How do you determine that?
what animal is worth saving? Like, what is, like, is it based on valuableness to the environment? Is it based on because we wiped them out? It's like, would you bring back the dodo because we are the ones who kill them? Or the mammoths and other, like, where does it stop? These are very complex ethical questions, Quath, that I don't have the answer to. But that is a component of it. Hi, Alex 16! Hi, Alex. How you doing, Alex? I saw a bison once. Very cool, T-Matrix. Very cool. All human encroachment changes the environment and same as every other force. Yep. But pragmatic, where is the boundary for when we save an animal or not? Alex, I don't know if you've seen this animation, but we now have an Amber redeem.
I've always wanted to say that.
You had to have an Amber animation. We had to have that, Alex. We also now, Alex, if you get angry, Alex, you can type rage. And yep, the repopulation as well. So bringing back the whole species. So those are the couple of features, Quaff. There's a lot of components there that are bringing it in.
Within that area, there were about 100 million acres, or 20% of that total, that were covered by prairie dogs at one time or another. Prairie dogs provided a lot of protein, moving the sun's energy through plants to all kinds of predators across that area. Black-footed ferrets were just one of those predators. They preyed on prairie dogs. There were probably tens of thousands of them at one time, but they were reduced by three things that really impacted the grasslands. One was farming in the eastern part of the range. Later on, there was a livestock industry that developed all through that area, and a good deal of prairie dog control, eliminating prairie dogs because of potential competition with domestic livestock. And finally, the advent of an invasive disease, sylvatic plague. One last colony of ferrets was found in northwestern Wyoming around 1980.
One of the great dots is almost exactly where I dig dinosaurs in eastern Utah. Danny, when you go out next time, keep an eye out, because I mean, they're very skittish. That when they're reintroduced to the wild, the way they are raised is that there is minimal human interaction. So the likelihood that they're going to have some kind of, like, they're not going to be scared, or they're going to be more skittish around you. It's not like a dog, like, pet reaction to it, which would be kind of neat to see. They usually come out in dusk and dawn as well. What are we missing right now, Zintaus? Using? Do you get prairie dogs out there? I don't think. Danny, be safe, because I've heard you need to watch out for the bubonic plague out there. The ferret, you got it, Zen. Thank you, Zen, for the hug of the ferret. Thank you, Zen.
The population prospered for a few years, and then plague hit. And at that point in time, the Wyoming Game and Fish Department, who had been following the population carefully along with the Fish and Wildlife Service, pulled those animals back into captivity to start.
God, Danny. So Mike is asking, like, so when you're digging, like, how do you not disturb the environment or something? Like, how do you keep them from being protected? He's like, well, I don't eat them. Danny, that is absolutely gold. Hi, Shock Valley. Just watched an interesting show on armadillos and leprosy. Nice. How was it? Video game I enjoy is Humankind, like Civilization 6, and the section of the game where it asks you for development as a nation, choose cats or ferrets as vermin removal. Huh. I think probably, well, it depends, I guess, on the vermin. Depends on the vermin, I think. We introduced dinosaurs, Argent Live. Unfortunately, the genetic information you're never going to be able to recapture, at least not at the current stage. Rats, I think probably cats, pragmatic, because rats also have an innate fear of urine, like the odor of cat urine. And so cat urine is actually, can be dispersed in a place. So if you put used cat litter in like a barn, no cats, just a used cat litter, it will scare away the rats and the mice. I don't think that's been demonstrated for ferret urine. So I would go with cats for that reason. Try to leave as little space as possible when we're working, but most of the digging takes place where there's no grass anyway, so the habitat overlap would be minimal. Picking up any trash out there is a positive way we can help. Danny, thank you for your service. Dreams, I know, I'm sorry, Argent Live. It's just DNA, the oldest DNA that we've been able to extract is 1.2 million years old. After that, it's far too degraded with current technology to be able to get. I'm a cat person. I love cats. Arjun! That's right. I'm so sorry, Arjun. You know why I want to call you Arjun? Because our friend Ristrock has a friend by the name of Arjun. And that's where my brain keeps going. It's maddening.
Started a captive breeding program, and the last 18 animals from that population were pulled into captive breeding facilities. Only 7 of those individuals were considered founders with unique genetic variation. So all the black-footed ferrets that we're working with in all these captive breeding facilities across the country, they all descended from just a handful of animals.
Black-footed ferrets were on the brink of extinction, and we thought they were gone. And then a small population was discovered in Wyoming, and it was an electrifying finding. They're not extinct. And the question became like, well, how many are there? Where are they located? And I followed that information avidly. One of the key people that saved black-footed ferrets was a Wyoming veterinarian named Tom Thorne. And he and I were both at a conservation society meeting about the time that they were going to be bringing black-footed ferrets into captivity.
Alex says rats dislike the smell of their predators, even if they aren't found anywhere near the area. If a rat finds a place to smell the cat... Oh, ferret as well. Okay. So then... Pragmatic. Based on Alex's data, either one would be able to be utilized for that feature. So I think either would be good. Can you use a weasel if you can? I'm not sure, Quoth. I am not sure. Oh, Quoth, you mean for these? No, those are too dissimilar. Those are two. So they used Quoth. The surrogate they'll use. Debs, the way you roll makes my world go round. Would I lie? Nightbot, very kind of you to be nice about Debs. All right, let's learn about these cloned ferrets. Again, thank you, Disco Duck, for the raid. Raiders, welcome the heck in.
Because of my work with the frozen zoo, one thing I knew for sure is if anybody put their hands on one of these ferrets, they should take a skin sample so that we could establish a cell culture.
So again, there's the frozen zoo we were just chatting about.
That was before cloning, but I knew that it would help in the effort to recover black-footed ferrets. I came back to California, and one day a box arrived in the lab from Wyoming.
Disco Duck, no. Self-care, healthcare. No sorries at all. Please take care of yourself. I appreciate the raid, and for entrusting with the community, we're going to take good care of them talking about some ferret science. Have a great night, Disco Duck.
And I went, whoa, what is this? I opened it up, and it was skin biopsies from black-footed ferrets. And the team in the frozen zoo cultured...
Look, Disco Duck, I'm Hungarian, and I grew up in the south of the United States, so sorries and ma'ams and sirs are like my lifeblood. So I understand, and I'm sorry for the sorries that I'm telling you about the sorry, and no, I'm sorry for telling you that you can't say sorry, but I'm sorry you can't say sorry, because there's no need for you to say sorry!
Those, they didn't all grow, but they cultured them, and 2 cell cultures from 2 different individuals were successfully saved. And then it turns out that those 2 individuals are not represented in the captive population.
Datum, you are not wrong. That is an extremely, really painful saying, which my ex-girlfriend's mother said to me a lot. That should have been a warning sign. Guys, if you're not checking out Melissa with all the numbers, please go check out with Melissa and all the numbers. Legendary Mario Kart Racer Extraordinaire! Please go check out Melissa with all the numbers, folks. You will not be disappointed. Breathtaking Racer Extraordinaire. No one can beat them. And no one can beat them at Mario Kart. Guaranteed. Go check out Melissa.
So they become a very valuable resource to new sources of genetic variation. And one of those was a female named Willow.
Thoughts on boiled peanuts? I like them a lot. I do like roasted peanuts more. But I do enjoy boiled peanuts. I haven't found a good source up here, but down south, we had a couple of farms nearby, and I really enjoyed having boiled peanuts then too. And there were a couple of restaurants that also had just a ton of them.
In 2013, I received a call, somewhat out of the blue, from someone named Seth Willey. He introduced himself as working with endangered species at U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and he'd heard about our work, bridging, conservation, and biotechnology. And he asked me pointedly, what could we do to help with the black-footed ferret? Well, the first thing we learned was that the black-footed ferret, which had been successfully bred for decades at the National Black-Footed Ferret Center, had over the years, over 9,000 kits were born, but that most of them were either cousins or siblings. They were so closely related. The first thing we did was to start to probe both a better understanding of the research behind this, the resources that were available, and Ben Novak, our lead scientist, took on the quest to figure out how we could actually create a genetic rescue program.
As Revive and Restore's lead scientist, the task fell to me to start researching how we might help the black-footed ferret. For populations in which individuals are so closely related, the long-term recovery can be complicated by the risk of the extinction vortex. The San Diego Frozen Zoo...
So this is exactly what we talked about. If you have a small, it's to call that genetic bottleneck, because imagine if you have a bottle, you have a large population of genetics, and then if it's getting shrunken and shrunken, and that's what you form your next population with, it's going to keep shrinking and shrinking in terms of all the genetic variants that you have available. And so that'll end up leading to higher mortality, further declining populations, so on and so forth.
Has cell lines from ferrets that have no living descendants. And so by cloning from those cell lines, we can start the road of genetic rescue, leading to outbreeding, undoing the effects of inbreeding, and ultimately leading to an increasing population that becomes stable, improving the chances of the long-term recovery for this species. For the black-footed ferret, in which every living individual is related to each other at the level of siblings and first cousins, the only place to go to get new genetic diversity is the past. We wanted to build our genetic rescue plan on genomic insight, and no one had sequenced black-footed ferret genomes before. So we took the opportunity to sequence Willa's genome and compare it to individuals that had been born in recent generations. And the incredible result was actually that Willa has as much as 3 times more genetic diversity than living ferrets. And that was the real discovery that said we should clone this ferret.
The next step was to go through the permitting process. U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service required us to go through a public comment period. This was the first time this had been done for the cloning of an endangered species. We were amazed and delighted when we received the approval for that permit, and the next step was for us to get the world's best cloning partner involved, and that was Biogen Pets and Equine.
And that's the company we talked about near the beginning for how much the funds go. They do cloning of dogs, cats, and horses.
Working with this technology now for more than 20 years. The technology comes from back licensing from the Roslin Institute from the cloning of Dolly the sheep. But over the last 25 years, Biogen's invested a tremendous amount of time, energy, and money in perfecting and developing this technology. We have to remember, even though it's 25-year-old technology to us, it's still brand new technology to a lot of people, and therefore it takes a little warming up for them to be comfortable moving forward with something that they see as so novel.
Working with the interspecies work is just very complicated because you never know until you try it whether or not it's actually going to work. For initial studies, we start with looking at blastocyst development.
So Quoth, this is the outline that you were asking about. So they take the black-footed ferret cells, they take an egg from a domestic ferret, take out the nucleus of that egg, and then put in a nucleus from the cryopreserved cell. So you put in the genetic information that'll form the individual from this this dead animal that you've frozen for a fair bit of time now. And you put it into the egg, you remove the existing nucleus. So everything that's developing in here will be black-footed ferret, but it's in the donor egg. So it's the egg's genetics are different from what it actually is going to be dividing within it.
So we test whether or not the domestic ferret oocyte can reprogram a black-footed ferret cell into a blastocyst. And so that was our initial first check. And once we did that,
And this doesn't need a male or female. Like, this doesn't need sperm because the nucleus that you put in here is already diploid, meaning it has 2 copies of the chromosomes and genetic information.
we did some early pregnancy work. And so we actually took and made some embryos with black-footed.
So yeah, Artros, this is saving the near extinct population of ferrets. The species is black-footed ferret, and so how they're saving them is through cloning, because they almost went extinct, and they're now trying to rescue them.
Ferret cells into domestic oocytes, and they were transferred into domestic recipients, and we found that we have pregnancies. And from there, once the pregnancies went on, we knew that once we had a Willa-born, that we had a successful pregnancy and that it would work.
It's been a lot of work, staying up a lot of nights and checking out our clone and all the journey that it's taken to get here. But considering we have a closed population with no other means of introducing new genetics into our population, I think the benefit of engaging in this cloning project is going to be very well worth the effort.
Speaking of well worth the effort, folks, make sure to check out our friend the Anchored Albatross, another wood burner extraordinaire, maker and crafter and gamer who streams the lovely Ark. Go check out Anchored. And JP, guys, JP, since we're working, isn't in his house. Make sure to check out the lovely and amazing JP, woodcrafter extraordinaire. We love JP here. He actually made a wand that's sitting in front of me with the Anchored Albatross, as well as there's a bowl upstairs that Lita keeps her jewelry in. So we get a feeling of JP every day. So guys, make sure to check out JP Sunset Woodworking.
The whole center was in some way involved with the arrival of these clones. It was the first day she had opened one eye. They don't always open eyes together, so she had just cracked open one eye one way and taken her first view of the world. And she had been, previous to that, very timid with her littermates.
Buttspot! So for this coming on in, this is the ferret that was cloned. And she was cloned from genetic information from a ferret back in the 80s. Thank you, Archeros. Sleep well and appreciate the raid, my friend. Sleep well, Archeros.
Was on the bottom of the feeding pile, and we were kind of worried she was getting pushed around, and maybe her littermates were outweighing her. The day her eyes opened, I opened this nest box, and she is just chewing on her siblings. She's pushing them out of the way. She's tussling. She like nabbing hamster carcasses away from them. And the difference in her personality was just so exciting. And I was like, there you are. You are a vibrant little black-footed ferret. You've just been hiding.
I used to hate facial hair, but it grew on me. Thank you, Ristarock. Mocha, first-time chatter. Probably missed it, but have they mentioned how they intend to combat the effects of inbreeding with adding clones to the species pool? So, Mocha, that's how they're attempting to combat the effects of inbreeding, is by bringing these clones. These clones are from samples that are from the 80s. So these are samples whose genetics are not represented in the current population. The current population started from about 10 breeding individuals collected about 15 years ago. And so these samples from the 80s are not represented in today's population. So they have a very regimented breeding program to ensure that there's as minimal inbreeding as they can get, but everyone they have prior to the clone are either sisters or cousins. And introducing the clones will provide this genetic diversity to the gene pool. And that's their attempts at diversifying that gene pool as well. Great question. Welcome on in, Malka.
The demonstration of this advanced reproductive technology bodes well for the black-footed ferret and possibly for helping other endangered species now and into the future. And that includes the Przewalski's horse as well as the northern white rhino. Recovering species like the black-footed ferret requires us to consider new and emerging technologies, and then we add these goods to our conservation toolbox.
So when we think about bringing species back, when we think about a cloning strategy, we have to really think about it holistically, about what are we trying to achieve. It's not about just bringing back one animal. It can never be about bringing back one animal. It has to be about bringing back the entire species, so that it can thrive successfully on its own without further human intervention. That really comes down to making sure that you've got enough diverse cell lines to allow that to happen.
Elizabeth Ann is a first successful clone black-footed ferret, but she won't be the last. Already we are cloning more from Willa's cell line with the idea to help increase the population and bring in with those offspring unique genetic variation. It is the effect of having an 8th new founder for the population. While there are other threats that the black-footed ferret population faces, from habitat fragmentation to sylvatic plague, this is an incredibly powerful milestone, not just for the black-footed ferret, but also for other endangered species.
Our prowess as a species has led us to astounding accomplishments, and it's also impacted the natural world in ways that now threaten the existence of so many species. I hope that our use of these powerful technologies can kind of redress some of the damages that we have done and awaken us to the possibilities of restoring nature in beyond what we imagined possible.
If you conserve black-footed ferrets, you're going to be required to conserve prairie dogs, and by extension, you're going to conserve a lot of other species, from ferruginous hawks to golden eagles to mountain plovers to burrowing owls to badgers to a whole host of different species.
The black-footed ferret has lived on this planet for 500,000 years. Our goal with this project is to ensure its survival for the next 500,000 years. To do so, we will have to help increase its resilience to sylvatic plague. And that is our next biggest challenge. Stay tuned to hear more about our research.
So the way that she would be more resilient to plague is through genetic engineering and through CRISPR. However, there is no update on that, what they've been doing on the genetic manipulation side of things. The thing that they've done, though, is they have actually successfully bred Elizabeth Ann. So the clone ferret is in fact fertile and has maternal instincts, and everything worked okay. She is in fact having babies. She's currently in at the Prairie Dog Nature Center in Lawrence, Kansas, where she's been mated actually again. So her pups have successfully survived, and she's getting mated another time. So she's introducing genetic diversity into the population. On top of that, her original host, the name of that is the original host. Welcome back, Epoch! Let's see, I had the original host name in here somehow, or somewhere. The original host has been recloned again. So they're making a couple of clones.
Wow, yippee, Snoop Dogg in the His House?
His House! Boyd's Custom Fab is in the His House, folks. Shout out if you like woodcrafting, if you like amazing friendos, if you like the most handsome man in the state of Texas, go check out Boyd's Custom Fab, one of our besties, folks. Boyd's. We also got a piece from today. We have a beautiful note in here. Y'all, I showed this off at the beginning of the stream. This was the Antonia in Your Art Style from Boyd's and Wicked Walnut. It's not showing correctly because of green screen. Check that out. It doesn't look real to me, even when I'm holding it Boyd's. It looks so good in terms of like the shading and the color. It doesn't feel like it should be real and in my hand. When we opened it, Boyd's, Lita said the same thing. It was like, I cannot fathom that this is actually real. Beautiful piece. Boyd's made the Raiders Antonia absolutely stunningly. Boyd's, what we're gonna do. Wicked. This is beautiful, Wicked Walnut. Thank you for the note as well. Y'all are far too sweet. We are cleaning off some shelves in the office. So we're making a bookshelf downstairs in the man cave and moving some of the really heavy textbooks down there. And then we're going to put some of these pieces on some of the shelves up here so it can keep safe. Because I worry, Boyd's, if I were just to hang this on the wall, if one day it fell, it would break. And so that I think we want to keep on on a shelf by itself, like with some of the other pieces. It is beautiful, my friend. Thank you so much. Yeah, really, really appreciate you. Thank you, Boyd's. Thank you, Walnut. Y'all are amazing. Absolutely amazing. And kits, yes, walnut is also breathtaking. We were just talking about the SciAnts News of the week, and we're just finishing up the first one. We forgot to put a backing on. No. Boys, we can stick a backing on it. I just worry that, sometimes things get knocked and they fall. And even in this room where only Noodle comes in here, I just worry. So we're going to put it on the shelf. Like, we're just going to have like an Antonia shelf. I think that's how we're going to do it, and make sure that everything is kept safe. Because they're so beautiful, nothing can happen to these items. Nothing can happen to these items. That is very, very critical. Speaking of critical, folks, also, in addition to following Boyd's Custom Fab, please also go check out the lovely and amazing Kids Creations. Yes, we got Archeros' work as well. We got Becca's work, and then Gwendolyn P's art piece as well. They're beautiful. They're so beautiful, Boyds. But we're just wrapping up the SciAnts News for the evening. Not for the evening. The first news story. This is the cloned black-footed ferret. She's at a new site that she was mated with different individuals. So there's a couple of black-footed ferret preservation sites in the United States, and this second site is where she is now being mated. And so the second site is cool because she gets to spread her genetic information differently than with the existing group. So it's hopefully going to spread more genetic diversity within the existing populations. The clone is from an animal from the 1980s. So it's an over 30-year animal. It's genetics that are being introduced into a population that hasn't seen that genetics in a very long time. And they're also cloning her original host more as well to spread that cloned genetic information. So this is a big victory for the genetic preservation of the species. And that is the first SciAnts News story of the day. We have another one that I would like to get into. This is, in theory, a short one. Didn't laugh, didn't smile, hunt the guac another mile. How come, Alex? Alex, maybe.
Endangered species in North America. This is one of the clone mamas.
This is Elizabeth Ann, the clone, now living in Colorado. She's the first ever North American endangered species that was successfully cloned. It's a project scientists have been working on for the last 7 years.
And she was the only one of 4 clones that survived.
Marty Burrell is the nature education supervisor at Prairie Park Nature Center in Lawrence, Kansas.
Look at the time and what day it is now on the East Coast. Oh, Alex! Happy April Fools, everybody. Thank you, Alex Vixen. I totally missed that. Hi, Kixie! Welcome on in. Call me Kixie. How you doing, Kixie? Welcome on in. Alex, I will have to be very on my toes. There is a website, I'm sure I'll know about this, IGN, that does video game news. They always post a fake video game that looks really, really cool on April Fools, and it's really frustrating because, like, one year they had a Darth Maul video game, and, like, you know what? It would be amazing to have a Darth Maul video game. And it was just a lie. Do clones have a mom and get born? So, Boyds, what they do with these. So, the black-footed ferret is near extinct. They actually had one final population in the 80s of 18 animals. After they used to have, let me show you their range, Boyds. Of like how far they actually used to live. Okay, so Boyds, this used to be their range. And when they were found, that little dot was all that was left. That one population. And so it was, do we intervene and save these animals, or do we just let them go extinct? So the scientists made the impossible choice and brought them into a center and started a breeding program. And so now after the breeding program, there are a couple of populations now that have been released today. However, you can imagine, Boyds, because they started with 10 individuals that could breed, the genetics are near identical, right? Every one of these animals are very close related, either sisters or first cousins. Eventually what happens is you will get a genetic just explosion in a negative way because they're so inbred that the population will die off because of that. So in order to get genetic diversity, they actually had samples frozen away from the 80s of individuals. And what they did was they take the DNA out of those cells and then they take an egg from your modern-day domesticated ferret. The ferret that you see at the pet stores. That egg, that embryo, they take out the DNA from that embryo. Because that embryo's DNA is from mom, which is a domestic ferret. They replace that DNA with the black-footed ferret from the 80s. There is no father technically involved in this, boys, because that DNA that you've replaced is diploid. So like in our egg and sperm, it's haploid. There's single copies of each gene. You put them together to make the diploid 2 copies, and that's what makes a zygote, or the fertilized embryo. When you transfer that DNA from the existing, like the dead animal from the 80s, that's already diploid, so you don't need sperm. So you have a fertilized embryo because it's already diploid. They take that embryo and grow it up to a blastula, so that's just a few days old of an embryo to make sure it's dividing okay. And then they implant it into a surrogate mother. So they implanted it into a domestic ferret instead of a black-footed ferret. The domestic ferret gave birth to it, and she survived. So there is... It's not its genetic mom, and it's not its genetic dad, but there is a surrogate mom to this animal. They don't grow the animal yet, like in a bag, or like you know how in sci-fi movies, like in The Island with Ewan McGregor and Scarlett Johansson, where they're growing humans in outside bags and everything. Nothing like that. So you still need a host, and the host has to be very closely genetically related. The reason they used the host of the domestic ferret is because they weren't sure what was going to happen, number one. And number two, the mitochondrial DNA this way gets a little bit of change added to it. And so, yeah, so that's how that works. And so, boys, they then tested to see if that cloned ferret could be used for, adding genetic diversity. Can she be successfully bred? It turns out she could, and she had a litter. And so now they moved her to a different site where she'll be able to give birth, to mate with the existing creatures there as well, which will be a neat component as well to have. So she's spreading the genetic information at different sites, unlike before when she was a singular site. And now they're also going to clone that animal from the 80s again a couple of more times. The clone Gwen is now... So she was born in April of last year, so she's almost a year. They reached sexual maturity, I think it was at 10 weeks. So that the fact that she's already had her first litter, everything went smoothly. She'll be they're trying to mate her again at this additional site, and then they're also trying to make additional clones as well, now that the cloning tech has been proved to work. So that is news story number 1. News story number 2... Chad, number 2. We're going to go to news story number 2. You better believe it. Andrew is going to like this one. This is a map of electric fields. This is a very physicsy one. And because I am... it's cool that ferrets are being released. They did that with some rare animals on an island not too far from the Seattle. Very cool, Epico Sam. You know what else is really cool, Epico Sam? You're very cool, Epico Sam. Our local platypus hero is Epico Sam. Guys, please, if you're not check out the legendary Epico Sam, please go check out Epico Sam. Art, games, and much more. We love Epico Sam here, Chad, and you should too. You should too, Chad. So, electric fields, folks. What is this? This is a fruit fly and a heat map. The heat map is of electric fields and how the electric fields move on this map. What exactly does this have to do with anything? So it turns out there are parasitic nematodes called trypanosomes. These trypanosomes feed on and can eat fruit flies. They are very, very deadly to these animals. There's also trypanosomes that infect humans. And that is called African sleeping sickness when it's affecting humans. It's very dangerous. You're likely to get sick and die from it. Actually, I think there's a quick video on it too. It's like a weird 3D animated one that maybe we'll watch, maybe we don't. But there is like a 3D animation of kind of what happens in your body. It's transmitted from the tsetse fly, and it's a similar concept into this. So like how they're actually like do it. I was carrying Romeo to my room. He's almost a 24-pound cat. He's like carried Becca. I can't blame him. I mean, if you're already tired and you want to go to bed, if someone were to just carry me to bed, that'd be awesome. You go, baby. I love you. I love you. Melissa with all the numbers. Sleep well, Melissa. Melissa, sleep well. Your breathtaking soul. Sleep well, Melissa. We love you and appreciate you, Melissa. So, what exactly is this study and why is it? So they were trying to measure electric fields, and the hypothesis was, do these parasitic nematodes use electric fields to find their target? This sounds insane, folks, but just bear with me. This is a heat map that demonstrates where the electric fields are in this image. And what you can see is the electric fields are moving towards the fly. And what the hypothesis was, does the electric fields that would move towards the fly create almost a path of these nematodes to jump and leap onto their potential prey? So first, let's actually watch the video happen. Does this even happen, folks? Does this even happen? There is a nematode in the air. Wow! And it just landed on the fly. We're going to slow that down. Romeo just spoiled Becca. I spoil our kitty cats too. That is slowed down. Let's slow it down even further. Let's do half speed. Check this out, y'all. Look at that. Now, here's the actual map. This is the electric field map. Now, imagine if the animal jumps from here, it goes up and then it comes back as well with that electric field, right? The path is quite visible. If you jump here, up and around. Now, what's really crazy is, okay, what on earth is this? This is apparently that there is a low-level electric field created by most animals. By you and I. Remember, we get static electricity, right? Epoch, if you rub your feet on a certain carpet and then touch someone, you zap them. You fundamentally have a low-lying amount of electric current in your body that you can build up further through static electricity and then release it by shocking someone. Now, normally you don't shock someone because you're not always rubbing your feet on carpet. At least I assume that you don't, right? As Sam says, platypi can also find their food in the soil via electric fields. They have a particular organ that they can use to detect these fields, right? But so, Sam, they have a specialized way of detecting. But what that means is there are electric fields around different individuals. And what the hypothesis here was, maybe something like, right, this video is crazy that you see this tiny animal leap up, and the way that they go towards the fly is very similar to that electric current that we just saw. It turns out if you disrupt this electric current, the animals no longer do this jumping behavior. And the way they actually were able to do this, so this fly is actually hooked up to a copper wire. And with the copper wire, they're able to modulate the amount of electric current that they put through the fly. So in this case, the fly is dead. Right? I'm just putting that there. They're not electrocuting the fly when it's alive. We're not savages here, folks. Although there are no ethical guidelines for dealing with insects, so in theory you could electrically shock a fly. They did not do that in this study. So they're shocking these animals left, right, and center and altering the electrical field that's surrounding the animal. And so you can change this heat map. You can make it so that it's very, very different. It doesn't have these fine curves, but you can have like red current everywhere, or you can lower the current threshold. And it turns out that very much affects how these trypanosomes or these nematodes do hunting behavior. And so it's a very beginning example of how animals in the wild are using electric fields as a means of hunting. It's the first demonstration of that in nematodes, as Sam points out, not the first demonstration in any and all animals. What's really cool is they hypothesized that it also has to do with moisture, because these trypanosomes actually live in water. So they found that it's what's most likely is conducting the electricity is the moisture in the air. If they run the same amount of electric current in the animal, but are in a very, very dry setting where there's no moisture in the air, the nematodes don't leap. And so really what they're using is static-filled water droplets. How wild is that? I don't know. I thought it was quite remarkable. They said in the paper, it's kind of like an electrical silk current that the nematodes can follow to their prey. They don't know how the animals are actively dealing with these forces yet and what the countermeasures the fly has, but it's a very beautiful example of how such a thing can actually work. So we can talk a little about this electromagnetic force and how it all works, and electrostatic force as well, about these forces in physics. Birds use it to navigate as well. So they use magnetic forces, which are a little bit different from electric forces. However, Sam, this video is going to answer about these 4 various forces that we know that exist. No, Sam! So, sorry, Sam. It's a great question, Sam. We're going to answer it, Sam. It's cool that little animals can use this to detect and right? It's amazing, Epoch, that they're using, and they're using it for hunting. It's absolutely wild. And tsetse flies are vectors of trypanosomes. Yes, they are terrifying to me too, Gwendolyn P. I do have a quick video on African sleeping sickness of how tsetse flies and trypanosomes can cause negative consequences of health to us as well. Speaking of cool things, folks, that you should go do. Also, make sure to follow our friend Irish John Games. Jern is a game dev extraordinaire, a pirate. Please go check out our friend Irish John Games. Hit that heart button, our lovely and amazing friend Jern. You will not be disappointed, folks. All right, let's find out about these electrostatic forces.
Where's my drink? What drink?
We have electromagnetism to thank for a lot of different things, from like allowing you to watch YouTube videos on a computer that is powered by electricity and holding all of the atoms in the universe together. But electromagnetism, as the name implies, takes 2 forms that look totally different to us. We have the electrostatic force and the magnetic force. But don't be fooled, electricity and magnetism are the same freaking thing. Weird, I know, but since this is my show and I can do what I want, I'm going to break this up into 2 episodes, one on electrostatics and one on magnetism. First, electrostatics.
So these are the 2 forces that we're chatting about, Sam. The electrostatic force is what these flies were had to them that the trypanosomes were detecting, and the electromagnetic force is more what's known to be the bird navigation. Hello, Digital Dak. How you doing, Digital Dak? Digital Dak, I hope you're having a lovely and amazing day, Digital Dak. Yeah, Sam, no, it's a great question, because, like, I don't think they're ever straightforward and easy to kind of figure out and how those things work. And even he said they're kind of easy to have be maybe inappropriately interchanged. Tired, to be honest? Get some good rest, Digital Dak. Get some rest.
Of lightning and balloons sticking to me. As you probably know, electromagnetic force acts on objects that have electric charge. In electrostatics, they're described as either being positive or negative. Objects with opposite charges produce an attractive force between them, while objects with the same charge produce a repulsive force. The greater the charges, the greater the force. And the greater the distance between the charged objects, the smaller the force.
So because the charged objects were the water molecules in the air, there's not a lot of distance between them, right? And so that's what allowed this animal to have this insane leap, because those forces and the conducting forces are pretty close together. Again, it's utilizing the water droplets. Now, this wouldn't work for you and I because we're just too big, but something as small as a trypanosome, that's quite remarkable, I think.
All this was laid out nice and simple by French physicist Charles Augustin de Coulomb in what we now today call Coulomb's law. Coulomb's law is able to describe how protons in an atomic nucleus, which are positive, keep negatively charged electrons from just wandering off. And just like with other fundamental forces of physics, there's a special particle that conveys this force. Here, you've actually heard of the particle. It's called a photon. Photons carry the electrostatic force between the electron and the proton. Photons are the same particle that carry light and heat, which is why electromagnetic force is able to travel at the speed of light. Now, electrostatic force is called static because it can build up in an object, creating a ton of potential energy that's just dying to move someplace. Take this balloon, for example, in my wool sweater. They are both made up of atoms, as you might imagine, and atoms normally have the same number of electrons and protons, so they're electrically neutral. But some substances tend to take on electrons really easily, like rubber, while others tend to give them up, like wool. When substances with these opposite tendencies come in contact, the electron from the atoms of one substance jump into the atoms of the other. So when I rub the balloon on my sweater, the balloon gains electrons, becoming negatively charged, and my sweater loses electrons, making it positive. Now, it might look like the friction of me rubbing this is causing the charge, but that's not true. Rubbing is just putting the atoms into contact over and over again, making it more likely that they'll swap electrons. The more they swap, the more charge gathers in one place, and the two oppositely charged objects cling together. They're effectively just sharing electrons when they touch. The same thing is going on with lightning. Electrostatic force builds up in rain clouds as they rub together. Once enough electrons are built up...
Sleep well, Skip! Earthly limitations. What does that mean? Come.
Sleep well, Skip, and good luck tomorrow on your subathon, Skip! Skip, what time does it start? Will you please tell the party people one more time? Folks, Skip is having a subathon tomorrow. 12-hour stream. Make sure to go check out the lovely Skip tomorrow, folks. I had never thought about how electrostatic force work. It's pretty wild, right? It's really, really wild. 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. Very nice. Skip, we'll see you tomorrow, my friend. Have a good sleep. Get ready for tomorrow. Don't eat the chip too hard, Skip. For 100 subs, he'll eat one of those really spicy death chips.
Up in the clouds, they need to go someplace that has a bunch of protons to neutralize them. But the atoms in the air basically serve as a path to deliver these built-up electrons through the sky from their negatively charged source, the clouds, to their positively charged destination, whether it's the ground, another cloud, or some really unlucky person. So electricity is just a stream of electrons trying to get from a negative place to a positive place. And isn't that what we're all trying to do, really? The crazy thing is that once electrons start flowing like this, it creates a magnetic field. And what? But that is why next time we're going to be talking about the magnetism portion of electromagnetism. Thank you for watching this episode of SciShow. If you have any questions or ideas...
And so let's now watch the magnetism portion so we can get the difference between the two. And then we'll do a quick jump into African sleeping sickness before we round out the evening. Because Blunt's gonna go eat too. I have to eat some food, chat.
Welcome to our second episode on electromagnetism, one of the four fundamental forces of physics. Like I said last time, there are two aspects to electromagnetic force. Electrostatic force, which builds up a charge in an object and can travel in the form of an electron stream, and magnetic force, which is responsible for the way magnets work. But even though their effects look very different to us, they are in fact one and the same.
It is pretty goofy, Epoch.
Hopefully, remember that electromagnetism acts on objects that have electric charge. This charge creates a field around an object, but a magnetic field is a little different from an electrostatic field. For starters, unlike a charged particle, which can either be positive or negative, a magnetic field has both a positive and a negative area, what we call north and south poles. Magnets always have both poles, no matter how many tiny little pieces you cut them up into. But magnetic poles interact very much like single-pole charged particles. The same poles repel each other, and the opposite poles attract. And just like with electrostatic force, because it's the same force, magnetic force is carried between objects by photons. To demonstrate that electrostatics and magnetism are, in fact, effects of the same force, you can create magnetism using electricity. A simple electromagnet is just a coil of wires which, when a current is passed through it, generates a magnetic field. You can make one yourself by passing an electric current through a wire wrapped around a nail or a screw. Switch on the current, and the screw becomes a magnet. Switch it off again, and the magnetism disappears. The magnets on your fridge are made basically the same way, only with a lot more electrical power and using special materials to retain the magnetism. And hey, you know what else is an electromagnet? you're living on one. The constant churning of the molten iron in the Earth's outer core creates electrical currents, and those currents generate the Earth's magnetic field, which has proven to be super useful for things like navigation, and since the magnetosphere is what protects us from solar wind, not being dead. So if an electric current produces a magnetic field, the reverse must also be true. And in fact, yes, you can generate an electric current using a changing pattern of magnetism. If you put a coil of wire within a magnetic field and continuously spin the wire or the magnet so that the magnetic field inside the wire fluctuates, electricity will flow through the wire. And this is really exciting because it's the reason why we have electricity. All you have to do is keep the wire or the magnet moving and you'll have a continuous source of electricity. Stop moving and the electric current will stop. This is how pretty much every source of electricity in the world works, from wind turbines to hydroelectric dams to coal with nuclear power. The only big exception is solar power, which is really interesting, so we did a whole episode on it. Which brings us to the conclusion of our series on the 4 fundamental forces of physics. If you have watched all of them, now you are a master. Not quite a master, but you're getting there. If you don't feel like you've quite mastered them, you can go rewatch those episodes. Also, we'll suggest some books down in the comments that you can continue.
And we'll post the other ones as well. But so it's using electric forces to do that jumping behavior, which is quite remarkable. There's not enough known yet about how that corresponds and has certain behaviors at play, but it's still remarkable that such a thing like that exists. And that these critters are using these electric fields to jump into the air and attack their prey. And you can disrupt it by having this copper wire in the animal, changing the electric current in the field, and on top of that, changing the moisture levels in the air. I think it's really cool. Rubbing balloon on my shirt has zero to do with... Right? I always thought it was a friction thing as well, but it's just actually the electron movements, which is... I think quite remarkable, right? So one quick final note as to why, again, they're studying trypanosomes. Trypanosomes are studied in a lab context when they infect fruit flies, and one thing researchers try to do is to try to cure the fruit fly. And again, it corresponds to that African sleeping sickness that we talked about earlier, or we're going to talk about in just a moment. There is a really difficult part of working with these animals. Why? Trypanosomes, it turns out, if you culture them in the lab and then you only let them feed on fruit flies, they lose their pathogenicity. So they actually lose, like, if they're no longer, like, a couple of generations in, they're no longer a negative thing for fruit flies. They have to go in between hosts. So they have to have that mammalian host. And it's very difficult to do that in the lab setting. And that's actually something we discovered when I was an undergrad, because we were trying to work with trypanosomes and fruit flies, and we're trying to get just a baseline negative consequence for the flies eating the trypanosomes. And we found out that the ones that were eating trypanosomes were actually doing better. And it turned out because trypanosomes had lost their pathogenicity and they were just a protein source at that point. So there's a lot of upkeep in making sure they stay pathogenic in the lab. Alright, let's quickly look at this video of the life cycle of the African sleeping sickness, the trypanosome, and the tsetse fly. This is a 3D rendered video.
The life cycle of Trypanosoma cruzi in the human host. In this video, we see the life cycle of Trypanosoma cruzi in the human host. The trypanosome life cycle begins with the triatomine insect, which is infected with T. cruzi, biting a human host. Following the ingestion of blood, the metacyclic trypamastigotes are released with the feces from the insect near the area of the bite.
So the insect poops in you, and that's how you get trypanosomes.
Note that this form has great motility.
They're called kissing bugs too, Andrew, because they tend to go for your mouth, because there's already water and humidity there that they can drink from, and they also will poop in your mouth. So there's a lot of... They're quite nasty.
Observe that the parasite enters the host through the bite site when the host scratches the site, or when the parasite moves to a region covered by mucosa. The parasite reaches the mammalian bloodstream and subsequently invades different cell types that it encounters, such as macrophages, muscle cells, epithelial cells and neurons. In this example, the attachment of the trypomastogote form of the parasite to the macrophage surface is observed. The process of internalization via phagocytosis begins with the formation of pseudopods. During and after the internalization of the parasite, the parasitophorous vacuole assembles. Host cell lysosomes migrate toward the internalization region and fuse with the parasitophorous vacuole. The lysosomal content is released in the vacuole. However, the parasite is not affected.
Lysosomal content, usually what that would mean was that's the way that they would kill the invader, but the parasite doesn't hurt. Andrew, in its defense, this is a 10-year-old video. He probably does get paid by the letter at that point. I think they've changed now to by the minute.
In the vacuole, the trypomastogote transforms into an amastogote. This transformation is accompanied by the disruption of the parasitophorous vacuole membrane.
Speaking of, if you like words, also go check out our lovely stream team leaders, Derek and Devin, over at Moco Made. They have this redemption where that you can make them say words that are difficult to say. Make sure to go check them follow there. And then the words all of a sudden make more sense in letters. Hi, lobster tongue!
The amastogotes are released into the cytoplasm of the host cell and divide multiple times.
Young panda crabs! Hello, young panda crabs. Hello there. Welcome on in. Hopefully you're doing well tonight, young panda. Hello, hello. Like Marlboro? Exactly what it'll be. Marlboro.
Observe how many amastogotes are accumulating through the division process. They can occupy the entire cytoplasm of the host cell.
Good! I'm glad to hear it, young panda.
Following division, the amastogotes transform into trypomastogotes, which show intense and constant movement that culminates with their bursting out of the cell. The trypomastogotes reach the extracellular space and, subsequently, the bloodstream. The parasites will now infect new cells.
So that is why trypanosomes are studied. Yep, they inhabit, multiply, burst, and spread. Yep, and so Andrew, they can spread. They will be spread through the human feces as well, which then might be like interacted with the tsetse fly, which will then actually just go back in circles. So it has that human host as a vector, and it just keeps going and going and going and going and going. So that's one of the reasons why it's studied. It's studied in the fruit fly because, again, it's easier than having to have all these like different hosts and different things that we work on. And so yeah, that's one reason why we have this kind of feature and how these animals work. So that is just a little primer into why this is an important thing to study. And you might be like, well, why are we looking at electromagnetic fields? This is really strange. Why on earth would this mean anything? Well, again, it means how these animals actually might be spreading. Presumably they can detect electromagnetic fields around us as well if we're in, humid areas of the world. Like that. And that could be how they also do the infection. So maybe it's another way to take care and protect people who might otherwise be affected. I hope that makes sense, chat. I hope that makes sense. But that is SciAnts News Story number 2 of the night. Been told I have a certain animal magnetism. That's different, Andrew. You're a Greco-Roman god, extremely handsome, extremely kind. Very, very different. My good sir. You handsome devil, you. So that, chat, is story number 2. Which, folks, I think that's what we're going to end it tonight. We've gone through 2 SciAnts News stories, which is one more than we usually do on SciAnts News Friday. I have a bunch of other ones that I was really excited to chat about, but I think hitting up and doing the animal cloning, talking about how that works, talking about the preservation of species is really important. A fun thing. Like, it also ferrets, right? Which we talk about ferrets a lot. And then this electromagnetism and electrostatic difference and like how it's utilized in predation is crazy to me, and it was really, really interesting. Like, you know what, let's dig into this as well. So that is story number 2, which actually, chat,